By the early 1980s, the world was changing faster than people could keep up. The most disturbing thing about 80s paranoia thrillers isn't what they feared. It's how accurately they predicted the world we're living in now. These movies assumed the truth could be buried, systems could protect themselves, and being right wouldn't save you. And somehow, decades later, they still feel uncomfortably current. John Travolta plays a sound technician, recording ambient noise for a low-budget horror movie, when he accidentally captures audio evidence of a political assassination. He manages to rescue a woman from the sinking car, played by Nancy Allen, but when he analyzes the tape, he realizes the car crash was no accident, and the tire didn't just blow out on its own. Brian De Palma wrote and directed the film as a deeply personal project, shooting entirely in his hometown of Philadelphia on an $18 million budget. De Palma originally wanted Al Pacino for the lead, but Travolta lobbied hard for the role and then pushed to get Nancy Allen cast opposite him. De Palma hesitated since she was his wife at the time, but eventually agreed. The production hit a disaster when a van carrying 2 reels of the Liberty Day parade footage was stolen outside a Dunkin' Donuts during the editing process. The entire climactic sequence had to be reshot, and the film flopped at the box office. But it's been appreciated more over time. A movie that suggests the truth doesn't set you free, it just makes you a target. Jeff Bridges plays a beach bum gigolo who witnesses a man dumping something in a trash can during a rainstorm. The next morning, police find a young woman's body in that same spot, and Bridges immediately becomes a suspect. He thinks he glimpses the real killer at a local parade, a wealthy oil tycoon who seems untouchable. His best friend, a bitter, self-destructive Vietnam vet played by John Hurd, latches onto this theory with obsessive fury. Czech director Ivan Passer brought his European sensibility, letting paranoia simmer beneath the surface of sunny Santa Barbara. United Artists, the studio behind the film, nearly killed it before anyone saw it, spending little on promotion and planning to pull it after a week of bad reviews. But critics from Time and Newsweek caught it and wrote glowing pieces, and the studio's classics division rescued it by changing the title from Cutter and Bone. The movie captures something essential about revenge and alienation for soldiers in a post-Vietnam, post-Watergate America. A darker, more realistic portrayal of veterans that Hollywood was finally ready to stop sanitizing. Roy Scheider stars as a successful Los Angeles businessman, Harry Mitchell, whose private life leaves him dangerously exposed after an affair with a young stripper. When 3 criminals insert themselves into the situation, most memorably John Glover as a fast-talking, unnervingly cheerful manipulator, Harry finds himself trying to stay ahead of consequences he no longer controls. Anne Margaret plays his wife, a reminder of the stable life he's risking as things start to slip, and every decision carries consequences he can't fully see yet. Directed by John Frankenheimer and adapted from Elmore Leonard's novel, the film fits squarely into the harsher side of 80s thrillers, where exposure itself becomes the danger. Frankenheimer hired porn star Ron Jeremy as an on-set consultant to get the adult film industry details right, and cast adult performers in party scenes. It's interested in how information moves faster than truth, loyalty is provisional, and the advantage always belongs to whoever's willing to go further. Like many movies in this era, it assumes that once you're caught in the machinery, being smart isn't enough, and getting out clean may not be an option at all. Sam Peckinpah directed this adaptation of Robert Ludlum's novel about controversial TV journalist John Tanner, played by Rutger Hauer, who makes his living exposing corruption on air. A CIA operative, played by Burt Lancaster, pulls him into something personal and tells him that his 3 closest friends, played by John Hurt, Craig T. Nelson, and Dennis Hopper, may be Soviet agents. The proof, he's told, will come during a casual weekend gathering at Tanner's home, which has been quietly wired for surveillance. But as the weekend unfolds and alliances shift, he begins to suspect he's the one being played. The The movie is fixated on how paranoia spreads once doubt is introduced. Information arrives selectively, motives remain unclear, and every interaction feels slightly off, as if it's being staged for someone else's benefit. Peckinpah hadn't directed a feature in 5 years, with his alcohol and substance abuse struggles pushing him to the margins of the industry. This would be his final film, and he died of heart failure just a year after the film's release, at 59. A bleak, uneasy farewell from a filmmaker who understood how quickly trust can collapse once systems take over. A Manhattan psychiatrist, played by Roy Scheider, becomes dangerously entangled with a mysterious woman portrayed by Meryl Streep after one of his patients is murdered. As his attraction deepens, the line between professional curiosity and personal obsession begins to blur, and he's left questioning whether the woman at the center of it all is a victim, a manipulator, or something more dangerous. Robert Benton directed this deliberate Hitchcock homage fresh off winning the Oscar for Kramer vs. Kramer. He reunited with Meryl Streep and cinematographer Nestor Almendros. While it leans heavily into classic Hitchcock territory, it filters it through a subdued, anxious lens of early 80s neo-noir. It's a story built around uncertainty, perception, and how easily the truth can slip out of reach once emotions get involved. The movie moves deliberately, letting paranoia accumulate rather than explode, and uses New York as a place where intimacy and danger constantly overlap. Like many thrillers of the era, it's less interested in solving the mystery than in exploring what happens when trust erodes and obsession takes over. Kevin Costner plays Navy officer Tom Farrell, who works inside the Pentagon, a world defined by protocol, discretion, and carefully managed appearances. His off-the-clock relationship with a woman played by Sean Young pulls him into a private orbit that overlaps uncomfortably with the Secretary of Defense, played by Gene Hackman. As events unfold, Tom is forced to navigate an environment where information is selectively shared, and the truth is treated as something to be shaped rather than uncovered. Directed by Roger Donaldson, the script bounced around Hollywood for 9 years, rejected by 6 studios and 3 television networks, who all found the premise implausible. Costner filmed it before The Untouchables, but Orion Pictures delayed the release to ride the wave of that film's success. The film is dedicated to cinematographer John Alcott, Stanley Kubrick's longtime collaborator, who died at 55 after principal photography wrapped, but before the release. The movie helped make Costner a star, doing well at the box office, and proved that intricate political thrillers could still find audiences. Kurt Russell plays Malcolm Anderson, a burned-out Miami crime reporter who's about to quit the business when a serial killer calls him directly after a murder. The killer wants publicity and chooses Malcolm as his mouthpiece. Mariel Hemingway plays his girlfriend, and as the body count rises and Malcolm becomes part of the story, the line between covering the news and creating it starts to blur dangerously. Directed by Philip Borsos, the title refers to Florida's late summer hurricane season, and Borsos used the oppressive humidity and brewing storms as constant visual metaphors for the killer closing in. To prepare for the role, Russell spent time shadowing Edna Buchanan, a veteran Miami Herald crime reporter who would win a Pulitzer Prize the following year. A young Andy Garcia appears as a detective in one of his earliest film roles. The movie came and went without much notice in 1985, but its critique of media complicity in creating monsters feels more relevant now than it did then. Gene Hackman plays decorated Army Sergeant Johnny Gallagher, who's escorting a military prisoner back to the States from West Germany. When the prisoner escapes under suspicious circumstances, Gallagher realizes he's been set up as a patsy in something larger, a conspiracy that reaches into the highest levels of military command. Joanna Cassidy plays his ex-wife, a military intelligence officer who becomes his only ally, and Tommy Lee Jones is chilling as the man he's hunting. Director Andrew Davis shot on location in Chicago, using the city's cold architecture and institutional spaces. Locations like the Field Museum, Union Station, and O'Hare to create a world where paranoia is the only rational response. The supporting cast is stacked with character actors doing excellent work. Dennis Franz as a Chicago cop, John Hurd as a shadowy military operative, and Pam Grier as a car rental agent who gets pulled into the chaos. It's a film about trusting your instincts when every official channel has been compromised. By the end, the only people Gallagher can rely on are the ones the system has already discarded.